Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPad mini 2nd generation and see how this particular iPad holds up in 2025. Now, a really big thing I would probably recommend every single person to kind of think about is that for the most part, these devices, they're still they were very impactful and they were very popular at one moment in time. But these types of iPads, if we're talking about iPads that came like 12 years ago, there's not really a lot of reasons to go ahead and buy these types of iPads, and there's not a lot of reasons to go ahead and use these types of iPads. So we'll take a look at it throughout this whole entire video. First things first though, if you do want to go through and pick up some iPads that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of these particular iPads. The iPad mini 2nd generation came out back in 2013. So this iPad already is like turning 12 years old, which is just so crazy to kind of think about. So, and from that perspective, that's kind of a big thing to keep in mind. A 12-year-old iPad, you'd be surprised if you can even find these things that kind of even work nowadays. Now, when you kind of take a look at this particular iPad, you're going to have to basically remember you're getting a 7.9-inch IPS LCD panel on the front side. Now, with this type of panel layout, it is kind of like it's kind of what you'd expect, right? It's not anything super insane here. It's kind of more or less, it's a good panel for it being as old as it is. But you can definitely tell that this phone has a lot of outdated type of, layouts compared to most modern day phones nowadays. So when you take a look at something like an iPhone, like an iPad Pro, for example, the iPad Pro is definitely going to be giving you a far better type of experience than something like these ones. That's kind of one big thing to keep in mind. When you look at any current generation iPad, you are by far going to be getting a way better experience in those current generation iPads than these ones, because you're not getting a home button and you're not getting these like massive displays or massive like bezels on them either. So I think that right there is another big thing to keep in mind there too. Now, on top of that, this iPad is giving you a lightning port at the bottom, which isn't too terrible, but most iPads nowadays do not give you lightning. They don't really need it anymore. You're also basically getting a lot more, you're getting a headphone jack on here too, which is nice. Most iPads still have that. But I would probably tell you for the most part, if you're about to go through and like pick up an iPad, you are probably going to be getting, a good feeling iPad on this thing, right? This thing still feels like a pretty good iPad. That's always something that I've always liked because they still feel fairly premium. But once again, if you are wanting a more premium version of a device nowadays, you might have to look elsewhere for the most part. So I do think that right there is going to be a big thing to kind of keep in mind there for the most part as well. But it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it would just be one of those things you'd probably end up running into. On the back side, you're getting the standard aluminum back, which still looks and feels good. So there's not really too many issues there because it still is like a good looking iPad. And then you're getting a single camera setup in the top left. And that's pretty much that. I think this iPad still kind of looks okay, but when compared to a lot of current generation iPads, you're definitely going to see this thing starting to age. This thing is really, when compared to the most generation iPads nowadays, you're getting a lot more bezel on this iPad, which can be kind of a downside because you might be wanting less bezel. You're not getting a ProMotion display on this iPad. The display itself also kind of shows its age because it isn't really looking that good. And then you're basically getting like a single camera setup, things like that. But when compared to the current generation iPad mini, you're not even getting Apple Pencil support on this thing, which in and of itself is another really big downside. So on the outside, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. On top of that, when you take a look at some of the other iPads, the main benefit of this iPad is just how cheap this thing is. Like, this thing does not cost that much money anymore whatsoever. So if you're trying to go through and get like a fairly cheap, affordable type of iPad, this thing is going to be giving you some sort of capability there. So I do like this iPad from that standpoint because it really isn't like this super expensive type of device to go out and buy. This thing is fairly affordable, and I do like that a lot about this type of device. But at the same time, there's a lot of other iPads you can go and buy as well that are probably going to be giving you really good experiences, which aren't even that expensive. Now, this thing on the back is going to be giving you a camera setup on the back side. So it's giving you a 5 megapixel standard camera on the back, which again looks pretty good. I like the way it looks. There's not really too many issues to kind of keep in mind here for a 12-year-old iPad. But for a current generation iPad, I will tell you, this is, a very old, outdated type of camera. And once again, if you are about to go through and pick up an iPad, this is going to be one of those types of, iPads you're going to run into and really kind of think to yourself that it is a pretty outdated type of system. So I think this is in and of itself another big thing to keep in mind. 1080p video on the back, what is it, 720p on the front. This is fairly outdated, and I would hate for you to go through and buy a camera like this or buy an iPad like this expecting the camera to be decent, because you're really not going to be getting that great of an experience. And I would hate for you to kind of be in that situation. So in that particular situation alone, that is kind of one of those big things to keep in mind there. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it would be without a doubt one of the big key takeaways here of just maybe not buying this type of iPad. Now, also when it comes down to software support, this iPad is also pretty much going to be a little outdated when it comes down to its software experience. This iPad hasn't gotten an update in a couple of years. So that right there also is going to be another one of these big key takeaways. It's like, why would you want to go ahead and buy an iPad like this if you're already going to go through and get like an outdated type of software experience, right? You don't have much to look forward to inside of this iPad anyways because it's already outdated. Then you factor in the fact that this thing is not getting software support. That is going to be another really big downside of this type of device as well. So I would definitely say there's a lot of other iPads to go and buy that will be giving you those software experiences. And this one just isn't really one of them when it comes down to it. So from that side too, I think that's another one of those really big things to kind of keep in mind there as well. Now, on top of that, I think another really important thing to keep in mind here too is the fact that with something like the iPad Mini 2, the performance of this iPad is not really as bad as you'd probably expected in some ways. Like this iPad, is still giving you an Apple A7 chip on the backside, and it's still giving you 1 GB of RAM. So this type of iPad, in my personal opinion, it's not a terrible performing device by any means. And I think there's still really good options out there, because it's an old iPad, right? But if this was a current generation iPad, that in and of itself would be such a, crazy thing, because this thing, it's not that fast of an iPad anymore. Now, when compared to the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at iPads like an iPad Mini 7, that type of iPad is going to be giving you a way better experience. That one is going to be far faster, insanely amounts better. And that one would definitely be the one that I would kind of tell majority of people to kind of go ahead and buy. Because this one, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy, especially from a performance standpoint. This thing is outdated. It's been outdated for quite some time. And I would hate to be the one to recommend you to go ahead and buy this iPad if you're planning on actually using an iPad on like an everyday basis. So to kind of sum up this video, what I can definitely tell you is that, when this iPad first came out, I was a fan of it. I thought it was good. But nowadays, it really just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy. There's way better iPads out there for the everyday average person to go ahead and pick up. These types of iPads, I just really don't think they're worth buying anymore. I would highly recommend buying something maybe like an iPad Mini 7, an iPad, like one of those types of iPads will definitely be giving you, I think, an overall better experience. These types of devices, I think they're just kind of starting to show their age. Not starting, they've been showing their age for quite some time. And I do think there's just better types of devices to go ahead and buy rather than this one. So if you're about to go through and pick up an iPad, I really don't think it makes a lot of sense at all to go ahead and buy some of these types of devices, right? I think there's way better iPads, way better opportunities of devices to go and buy rather than this one. So that's the way I kind of see it. Again, the choice is yours, but if I were to go through and like pick up a device, I do kind of think for the most part, these would kind of be the ones that I'd recommend a majority of people to go and buy in my personal opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.